Hola! This is my condensed version of a podcast by the Inspire Health podcast featuring David Icke and Cathy O'Brian. What is being inflicted upon the human race, particularly now in the Rona sickness, is mass trauma. This mass trauma is creating mind control on a mass scale, or you can also describe it as mass hypnosis. Hola! From Colombia. With the present great world confusion, I wish to do my part to accelerate the evolution of human consciousness. Please help by subscribing and sharing these videos. Thank you. It is obvious that MKUltra techniques are being used on the population. This is trauma-based mind control. It compartmentalizes the mind into the honeycomb of self-contained compartments called alters by the mind control industry. They create a frontal so that this frontal alter is seen by everyone around, but also the person itself thinks it is them. All these other compartments are in the subconscious. The back alter is brought forward when needed and becomes this person's frontal behavior and personality. The mind is compartmentalized through trauma. This is where the Manchurian candidates come from. Now, the population in general is being systematically traumatized. Upon careful observation, one can see the alters created, and they are shutting out the trauma. This is one explanation as to why so many people simply cannot see the obvious. Awakening people are looking at the world now with all the restrictions, the pronouncements, the statements, and the contradictions, and are saying, why can't people see it? A big part of it is not wishing to face what you don't want to experience. This is why fear is the weapon of choice of that evil force which is behind all of this. People give all their power away because of fear. These people look outside of themselves for protection from what they have been manipulated to fear. Mainstream medical doctors, most of which do not have a clue of how things work because they are just prescription writers for big pharmaceuticals, they get their power from the people fearing death. The fear of death is the foundation of everything. Once you realize that there is no death, it is only the body that comes to an end, but we, the consciousness, are eternal. Then everything starts to chill out, and you can no longer be traumatized, intimidated, or manipulated. What is the worst that can happen? You'll leave this hell on earth and go towards all possibilities? Because that is what you are. So, what is driving people is their state of consciousness. Those that are awakening and seeing it, they are seeing it because of their state of consciousness. Further, those who are not seeing it are not seeing it because of their state of consciousness. This Rona era has created an enormous amount of fear. It is the trauma created by the hoax. This trauma shuts the people down by attaching them to the lower level of the subconscious, just below the five senses. And these people think they actually have their own thoughts and reactions when actually they have been implanted and everything is coming in from the subconscious. If your heart and mind are open to any extent, then you are operating on a higher frequency, higher level of consciousness, and cannot be manipulated by fear into the low frequency white sheep state of consciousness. What we are now seeing, those of us who can see, is what has been hiding for all these years is now being brought to the surface. This truth vibration phenomenon is unstoppable. We are seeing the last desperate attempt of the evil force that has been manipulating from the subconscious all this time. And it is being brought out into the conscious awareness. With Rona, that which has been manipulating from the shadows has now entered the room, and so we can see it. When you are reaching what you think is your end game, you have to break the surface because you can't change society without actually changing society. When you want to bring about your great transformation, what they call the Great Reset, you then have to put it on public display. Otherwise, society is not going to change. Because of the nature and scale of the change we are now experiencing, people are more and more capable of seeing it. The evil force will now throw everything at us in order to convince the ones that are resisting to accept the jab and the boosters. But on the other side of that, this is coming down. We are not only going to stop the end game, we will see the removal of evil from this field. Once love is infused on the scale that is coming, the evil, which is absence of love, cannot withstand it. At this moment in the podcast, Cathy O'Brian joined the group. She said that she is also seeing a great awakening happening. People are tired of letting a handful of low vibrational, domineering criminals mess with our brilliant minds any longer, and they are starting to say no. All we need is a collective no. It does not need to be a shout. We just have to mean it. No more. The seeds of truth have been planted by David for all of these 31 years in order for this great awakening to happen now, right now. David confirms that a great team of souls have come into this reality at this time to make this transformation. Knowledge is our defense from mind control. Love always wins, and love always does what it knows to be right, irrespective of all the shite thrown your way. They want us to perceive that they have all the power, when in fact, they only have the power we allow them to steal from us. It is time for us to come into our own power and realize the infinite love that we are. All answers are within us and not outside of us. Consequences are unthinkable to love. You simply do what you know to be right. The consequences will simply take care of themselves. Knowledge is not power. The use of knowledge is power. Therefore, we need to simply stop cooperating with evil. Calmly but strongly say no. I am not cooperating with the agenda. Seeing it is stage one. Ceasing to cooperate with it takes the house of cards down. So the question is, are you going to comply and volunteer your infinite power to them? Or are you going to courageously face whatever comes next? Many more challenges will continue to intensify, whether we want to accept this or not. It is important to be in awareness and understanding that the divine has a plan. We are facing the end of humanity because the human being is ready for his evolution towards the new species, the divine being. Due to my peaceful non-cooperation, I went to prison. I describe my prison experience in my book, True Freedom is Inside of Me. Please visit my bilingual website. The only solution is very simple. I must connect to my true self, my soul. Easy to say, not so easy to do. Please go into action now and make the choice between listening to your ego-mendacious mind and the external authorities or listening to your soul, the internal authority. I consult and offer tools so that you can find your individual solution by making contact with your soul. Your soul will then effectively guide you through the upcoming, long-lasting, turbulent transition. Infinite love.